So I read the first chapter of Jojolands, and I have to say that it's pretty amazing. The characters are extremely memorable, the plot is pretty intriguing, and the stands are a lot weirder than I was expecting. In a good way, of course. I wanted to read more, but I'm satisfied with how things are going, and I'll definitely be checking out more chapters as they release. But as I was reading, I couldn't help but look to the future. How exactly is the plot going to unfold, and what elements from past parts are going to play some sort of role? So today I'll be listing out my predictions of things that will likely show up in the manga's run. It's likely going to take years for any of these predictions to be proven, but I'm sure someone here will rush to this video in 2028 to gloat if I'm wrong. A pretty safe assumption to make is that Gappy from Jojolands will have some sort of role. The first and most obvious reason is simply due to the history of the series. Joseph pretty much played a huge supporting role in Stardust Crusaders, with him helping Jotaro on many occasions and being integral in the fight against Dio. Jotaro is an even better example, being the Jojo character with the most appearances. First in part 4 in a supporting role, a cameo in part 5, and another supporting role in part 6. It's only logical that Josuke would have some sort of supporting role similar to Joseph from part 3 and Jotaro from part 4 and 6. The second reason is due to the character's motivations. Throughout Jojolands, Josuke was pretty much always searching for his identity, both literally and figuratively. By the end of Jojolands, he may not have fully grasped who he was, but he still decided to make new memories with the loved ones he had. One of these loved ones was Holly Kira. Despite Josuke's memory loss, he did eventually view her as his mother, but after a set of circumstances, she's now in a coma of sorts. Josuke now has the motivation to save Holly, and a Rokakaka fruit somewhere in the southern islands is the key to saving her. Now despite Hawaii not being a southern island, it's not far-fetched to say that Josuke would hop island to island on his way to the south. This could also simply be an Rocky Forgot moment, and the Rokakaka can now be around Hawaii or its surrounding islands. Or Jojo could make his way to the southern islands, for whatever reason. Regardless, Josuke has a tangible goal and motivation that could justify his role in the story, especially since Jojolands focuses on island hopping, and come on, Josuke's wearing a sailor uniform, he wouldn't really stand out all that much, especially with guys like these walking around. The third reason Josuke would appear is his stand ability. Every stand we've seen in Jojolands so far are less combat oriented and seem focused on the art of thievery and infiltration. Smooth operators can mold and rearrange any object, and the hustle gives Paco's muscles the ability to grab anything, quietly, as if they were another hand. Josuke's ability to steal properties from any object fits right in. He can steal the sound of objects or footsteps, making infiltration a lot easier. He can steal friction or eyesight from foes to make quick getaways even easier. Reason number 4. With the Joestar family's tree seemingly being a huge part of this story, the most complex member would have to appear. There's also the question of why Dragona and Jodio didn't appear in the family tree in Jojolands. The final reason is that I just want to see our Sailor Boy again, and not be done dirty, like another Joestar we know. Rokakaka will play some sort of role in the story probably, definitely not nearly to the same degree as Jojolands, but with part 9 being more high-spaced in structure, it would make sense for the fruit to have some sort of role. Maybe Jodio will have to steal it in some way, shape or form due to its extremely high value. If Josuke plays some sort of role in the story, the Rokakaka's appearance would be even more guaranteed. If the Rokakaka does appear, I expect it to be utilized in the same way as the Saint's Corpse in Jojolands. Not really much emphasis was put on it, but it had a small role in the story. The alternate universe Diavolo will likely make an appearance. Part 7 had the return of Dio with his standard world, and pretty much functioned in the same way as the original. Part 8 saw the return of Kira and Killer Queen, and that too functioned closely to the original stand. With the order of appearance, Diavolo and King Crimson is 100% next, especially with Part 9 being an obvious Golden Wind parallel, with Jodio being Giorno, and the return of the criminal underworld. Speaking of which, with the criminal underworld being put back into focus, it makes more sense for Diavolo to be involved since he was a crime boss in the OG universe. It'd be pretty interesting if he's a police chief or police officer this time around. The Part 7 and 8 villains could control Calamity in some way. Valentine could redirect attacks as a Calamity to someone else in time, and Toru could control the flow of Calamity. With that said, I would say the main villain of Jojolands will have their own application of this ability, but it's hard to imagine how anything will top the Wonder of You. November Rain seems to have the ability to control drops of water. We haven't seen it too much in action, but Jojo seems to be able to control their weight or mass to pin enemies to the ground and deal a slight bit of damage at the same time, at least for now. One thing that immediately came into my head when looking at these raindrops, however, was that they were pretty spherical and would be the perfect conduit for the spin. We all know that the spin is a force that applies a rotation for any object and are especially perfect for anything round in shape. And we know that the spin can power up stands to a massive degree, being responsible for the birth of Tuskak 4 and Soft and White Go Beyond. This may be years in the future, but I see Jojo learning about the spin in some way and applying it to the raindrops his stand creates. One thing that's pretty evident about November Rain, that it looks nothing like the Joestar stands of the past. Instead of being a punching ghost, it looks more like if Hierophant Green and Fun had a stand baby with each other. This does make me wonder if we'll see a stand barrage at all with November Rain. Don't get me wrong, we've got plenty of those in other parts, but Jojo doesn't seem complete until we see a robot ghost furiously punch someone to oblivion. However, stand barrages will likely be incorporated into November Rain. Not only can their rain pin people to the ground, but they have pretty long feet. We'll probably see Jojo and his stand stomp their opponents to oblivion, and since Jojo is an alternate journal, we'll likely see the return of the Muda stand cry, and maybe the 7-page Muda.